World Boxing News are claiming that there's the possibility of a Dillian Whyte Deontay Wilder showdown on the cards. And that would happen in order to pave the way for the Anthony Joshua Tyson Fury undisputed fight to happen sooner rather than later. That would, I guess, mean that Wilder doesn't fight Fury in the rubber match next, and that Fury either has a tune-up and then goes into the AJ fight, or fights nobody and just goes straight into the AJ fight. AJ still has to get past Pulev regardless. So it's an interesting solution because in that particular instance, we could see, well, according to World Boxing News, it would be just a defense of Dillian Whyte's interim title with the winner getting a guaranteed shot at the undisputed champion afterwards. But it could also be for the WBC regular title if Tyson Fury gets elevated to franchise champion, as Bob Arum has claimed could be possible. Now, would Dillian Whyte go for this, a fight against Deontay Wilder, now that Wilder doesn't have the WBC, title? In fact, Dillian Whyte has got the interim belt at the moment, and if he gets made into full champion, for whatever that's worth, I guess we'll call it regular champion, would he still want to fight Wilder? Maybe he would. Maybe it's so personal between the two of them that Dillian Whyte would still like to lay hands on the guy anyway. Maybe he's got so much confidence in his ability to beat Deontay that he doesn't really care if there's a tie. I did see an interview actually with Dillian Whyte. Was it a couple months back maybe, where he said, yeah, irrespective of whether Wilder's champion or not, I'd fight him. But it's one thing saying it, and the next thing actually doing it in reality. Obviously, Dillian Whyte has wanted to get in the ring with Deontay Wilder for a long time. But now that he doesn't have anything that Dillian Whyte wants, what's the incentive? Is it just a personal thing? And is that enough for Dillian to actually want to go for that? Because it's a dangerous fight. Don't get it twisted. I know Dillian is confident that he can beat Wilder, but he still understands it's a dangerous fight. He knows that. I mean, if he doesn't know that, well, he might get a rude awakening if they do step in the ring together. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Now, following Tyson Fury's victory over Wilder in the rematch, I've seen a lot of people say that they think that's what Dillian Whyte would do to Deontay Wilder. Yeah, they think that Dillian Whyte would be able to walk Wilder down, hit him with jabs and just, bully him and do something similar to what Tyson Fury did. I'm not so sure about that. I think that Dillian Whyte, yes, he can come forward and apply pressure, but I don't think his footwork is as good as Tyson Fury. I don't think he's as light on his feet coming forward as Tyson Fury. We know that he doesn't have Fury's reach. We know he's not as tall. I don't think his step back is as quick. He's not as defensively good as Fury. I mean, if you look at the Dillian Whyte-Robert Helenius fight, Dillian Whyte was on the front foot the whole night, and he couldn't get Robert Helenius out of there. In fact, it was Dillian Whyte who was more hurt in that fight than... Look, Dillian Whyte won the fight hands down. It wasn't close. But he was the one, I think it was in the second round, who was noticeably hurt from a Robert Helenius shot. Robert Helenius can punch, don't get it twisted. He can punch real hard. Just ask Adam Kaunaki. So Robert Helenius can definitely punch very hard. But nonetheless, I'm not sold on this idea that, Dillian Whyte on the front foot is going to be able to be as effective as Tyson Fury was in the front foot against Wilder. I'm just not sold on that idea. And maybe he won't have to be in order to beat Wilder, Just because, for example, I always use this as an example. Floyd Mayweather completely schooled Juan Manuel Marquez. Tim Bradley did his best Floyd Mayweather impersonation when he fought Marquez. And he beat him as well. Now, Bradley didn't beat him anywhere near as easily as Mayweather did, but he still beat him using very similar tactics and a similar style, okay? So it's not necessary for Dillian Whyte to be as good as Tyson Fury as doing what he did against Wilder in that second fight. But he needs to be good enough using those tactics. And that's what I'm not sure about. I'm not sure whether he's good enough. Now, one thing we can contemplate is the psychological impact that loss had on Deontay Wilder and whether he'll be the same fighter ever again. Yeah? Some fighters come back well, some fighters don't. Some fighters are really haunted by experiences like that, and other fighters less so. So there is a question mark at the moment over Deontay Wilder following that devastating loss to Fury. And perhaps if he goes into a Dillian Whyte fight next, we might see that there are demons there for Deontay Wilder. Yeah, we might see that there's still residual from that particular beating that he took. Because that was a beating, man. That wasn't even a fight. That was just a beating. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you like this fight? Do you think it's viable? Personally, I hope that Dillian Whyte would be happy taking this fight. And I'm just saying I hope. I'm not saying he should. I'm saying I hope he would be happy taking this fight, which then allows the undisputed fight to take place sooner rather than later. I hope he would be happy with that. Yeah, because, again, it's always been my priority. It's the top of my list to see the undisputed fight before all else. Yeah. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Who would you be picking in the fight? I've always said that I would pick Deontay Wilder to beat Dillian Whyte. But has my view been changed slightly by the way that Wilder was defeated by Fury? Maybe a tiny bit, but that's more so to do with the psychological state of Deontay Wilder right now, rather than anything technical that I saw in there. Because I really didn't see anything from a technical flaws perspective. I didn't see anything in Wilder that I haven't seen before. I mean, I remember watching Wilder when he fought Sergey Lajkovic. And he knocked Lajkovic out in one round. But before he landed the knockout shot, Lajkovic was pushing Wilder back. And this is a very old, past it Lajkovic, pushing Wilder back with a jab and just doing some basic technical things, which had Wilder looking a little befuddled for a few moments. And I know that was a very short fight and he ended it shortly afterwards. But it was, if you're paying attention, you look at things like that and you think, a bigger fighter, a younger fighter, a more capable fighter who tried to implement tactics like that, Wilder could be in trouble. Now, I certainly didn't think Tyson Fury had the ability to do that on the front foot because I'd never seen it before. I mean, I recently watched an interview with Adam Booth where he was talking about Tyson Fury versus AJ, and he said he was very impressed with the way Tyson Fury went about the Wilder rematch because he'd never seen Tyson Fury box on the front foot that way before. And I certainly hadn't. Every time I saw Tyson Fury box on the front foot, he looked clumsy, including in his previous fight against Otto Wallin. And, irrespective of being sufficiently motivated, we all know Tyson Fury's a buzz fighter. I've seen him motivated in fights before, but be on the front foot, and he just looks very clumsy, even against Vlad in the late rounds of that fight where he was, more aggressive. He looked clumsy to me. And I just felt like that clumsy front foot Tyson Fury is going to be a sitting duck for Deontay Wilder. But Tyson Fury went over there to train in the States with Sugar Hill and Andy Lee. And Andy Lee, of course, is a Kronk veteran himself. Sugar Hill heads up the Kronk gym right now. And yeah, he picked up a lot of that Kronk style in a very short space of time, Tyson Fury, and was fantastically impressive. The way that he was able to raise his front foot game to such a level in just a few weeks. It was incredible to me. Why didn't he look that front foot competent against Wallin or, many other fighters he's fought in the past? I guess he hadn't really dedicated himself to, or maybe didn't have the right teacher to show him how you can be more effective on the front foot. Maintaining your balance, maintaining your shape, keeping those long shots out there whilst moving forward rather than shortening your punches. I remember when Tyson Fury fought Steve Cunningham, on the front foot, he was struggling to land on Cunningham at long range. After the knockdown, he abandoned all that. And he just marched forward with his hands up, throwing short hooks and what have you, and leaning on Cunningham. So that was my And I guess everybody's, unless you're in the Tyson Fury camp, experience of watching Tyson Fury on the front foot. It was never very pretty or graceful or particularly technical. But in that Wilder fight, wow. I mean, he upped his game to an incredible level. So very impressive. And yeah, I think it was more Tyson Fury just being very good on the front foot than, yeah, Wilder's always had the weaknesses. They've always been there. But I'm not convinced that everybody can do that to Deontay Wilder. Yeah. Unless Wilder's confidence is completely shot now, then I think Wilder's still going to be viable for a year or two yet. At least for another year. I think he's still going to be viable. Now, the bigger question for Deontay Wilder, and including if he fights Dillian Whyte, are these injuries he keeps picking up. Because Deontay Wilder is quite injury prone. He's broken his right hand on multiple occasions and required surgery. I think he tore a bicep as well. And this time, I mean, we don't know what the injury is. Is it a leg injury? Is it the hand again? Is it multiple injuries? As you get older, you tend to heal more slowly from injuries. They tend to bother you more and become chronic, especially with the way you have to train so intensely with boxing. The training camps will do you in more than the actual fights a lot of the time. So that's another thing to consider with Deontay Wilder is there's the mental aspect. Is he going to be 100% mentally? And is he going to be 100% physically if he fights Dillian Whyte? I mean, maybe just from a fighting perspective in terms of the best opportunity for Dillian to beat Wilder, maybe it's now. Despite the fact Wilder doesn't have anything by way of a championship for Dillian to pick up. Anyway, just some musings on Deontay Wilder, Dillian Whyte, whether they could fight and who would win. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening, I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.